Crystal Craven, and I am a singer, a songwriter, and a worship leader, and I am passionate about sharing what God inspires. And this is your weekly devotional. All right, let's jump right in here to Luke 18, verses 9 through 14. And it says, and this is Jesus, Jesus also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and treated others with contempt. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, prayed thus, God, I thank you that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give tithes of all that I get. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted. Now, Jesus ends this parable, this lesson, right, with the point that everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted. However, we can't overlook whom he was telling this parable to, right? It says he was speaking to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and treated others with contempt. In this example of the Pharisee, it's not really hard to see the pride that he exudes, right? And most people would say that it's pretty much just off-putting. And we all know someone who thinks too highly of themselves, and in their pride and their self-righteousness, they tend to treat others badly. Now, the thing is, we're all susceptible to treating others poorly because of our pride, even if it's less blatant than this example of the Pharisee. Because as human beings still stuck with a sin nature, we're all prone to selfishness and self-righteousness and pride. So we should really approach life with this remembrance so that we don't end up becoming blinded by it. Because it really shouldn't take committing super obvious sins to humbly come before God and acknowledge that we're sinners. Even after we've accepted Jesus' gift of salvation, we should regularly be repenting of our sin and seeking the merciful forgiveness of our incredibly loving and kind God, both coming humbly before him and then leaving humbled by his mercy, yet exalted by his grace. The heart of the matter here is that those who are prideful trust in themselves for righteousness, and it will keep them from coming humbly and honestly before God. And this is an issue for non-believers as well as for the followers of Jesus alike. Justification comes through faith in Jesus for salvation, which takes humility to repent and to receive forgiveness and salvation. But also, for the follower of Jesus, we got to remember what James said in James 4, 6 through 10. He says, but God gives more grace. Therefore it says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Be wretched and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you. Now, there was a vast difference between the Pharisee and the tax collector in their prayers. The Pharisee focused his prayer on himself and what he considered to be the good things, right? Like listing off all that he had done or that he had not done, as if it were proof of what he believed about himself. And he thanked God for it. Except God had nothing to do with the Pharisees' self-righteousness. And as James 4 mentioned, God was opposed to him in his pride. But the tax collector focused his prayer on God, trusting him to be merciful as he pled for his mercy. How we direct our prayers can itself be a heart check for us. Let me ask you just a series of 3 questions. And it's just something to ponder in your heart. Okay, here we go. Number 1. Do you make your prayers about yourself, or do you focus your prayers on God? Number 2, is it more about bolstering yourself or maybe even pushing your will onto God, or about being humbled before God and aligning your heart with His will? And number 3, do you put others down when you include them in your prayers? Now, these are hard questions, and they might even cause kind of this uncomfortable or defensiveness in us. But they are actually really important ones to ask ourselves, because they can help us as we seek to humble ourselves before God and be more like Jesus, if we're honest before God and with ourselves, right? If we're going to self-deceive, it's not going to help us. And this truly is an issue of trust. I mean, just as it was with the audience that Jesus was addressing. Those who trust in themselves aren't just dealing with an issue of pride, but it's also an issue of trusting God. Because by trusting in themselves, they're in essence stating that they don't fully trust God. The tax collector knew that he didn't deserve what he was asking God for, as he acknowledged being a sinner. Yet he trusted that God was merciful, like he says he is, as he prayed for mercy. He entrusted his entire life to a merciful God instead of trying to prove that he was somehow worthy in and of himself, which is what the Pharisee did. So what's our takeaway? What's our application from this? I'm going to leave you with what the prophet Micah told the people after the indictment of the Lord in Micah chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. It says, "With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before God on high? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has told you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God?" For blogs, written devotionals, and originally written songs, visit crystalcravenmusic.com, and that is Crystal with a K and Craven with a C.